Family and Fit, where we talk fitness and how to integrate it in a busy lifestyle. So today we're going to be talking about strength and some different aspects of strength, like when you should start going up in weight, how often should you be going up in weight. We're talking about what exercises you should be doing for strength building, and how do isolation muscles fall into strength building, and should you do isolation muscles for strength building. We're going to go ahead and jump right into this thing, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and hit a set. This is a warm-up set, by the way. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and dive right into this content. So let's start with the first thing. Like, how often should you be going up in your lifts? How often should you be progressing? How much weight should you be adding? So I have a general rule of thumb where I like to hit about 5 sessions before I try to go for a new PR. Now I might even hit for my last PR, and I actually consider hitting your last PR as a new PR. So if you're able to hit, like, say for instance, let's go with my PR right now. I'm hitting 250 bench press, and there's been times where I've hit like 245, but like then I wasn't able to hit it again, and like it'd be like hit or miss. Like I hit 245 here and there, and it kind of just depended. And a lot of that was because at one point in time I was very sporadic with the way that I went about my strength routine. I didn't really have a strength routine. It was mainly hypertrophy routine with a little bit of strength aspects added to it. Whereas now I'm doing a hybrid style where I'm essentially doing 50% strength, 50% hypertrophy, which is a big deal. It's a major difference. Just the ability of constantly staying consistent at focusing at strength. Because a lot of times what will happen is maybe like you don't hit strength for a few weeks or something like that. And strength is a little bit like endurance. You can kind of lose it and gain it very quickly. And so that's why it will actually vary on how fast you can truly progress in your weight. So for my example, I was on a hypertrophy style primarily lifting scheme program, however you want to call it. And through that type of lifting scheme of doing mainly hypertrophy, I didn't hardly ever hit strength consistently. So therefore I was just gaining muscle. Well, throughout that whole entire 2 years of working out, I essentially really have not gained much strength, as you would say. And I have, don't get me wrong, I have gained strength. But so say for instance, when I came down, I'd hit like, when I started off working out, I was hitting anywhere between like 225, and then within like a few months I hit like 230 or something like that. But then I didn't really try hardly anything else. There was a session I had about 6 months ago where I tried for something. I think I hit like 235 or 240 or something like that, and I was able to hit a PR at that point in time. But the next time I tried to hit that same PR again, I recessed back, and it was because I went another 3 months without even trying to heavy lift. And it's highly likely that my hypertrophy style lifting had a little bit less strength within it. Since I wasn't technically tracking how much strength I was adding into my hypertrophy days at that point in time, there's too many variables that are involved. That's why now that I've switched over to a consistent 50-50 flip of hypertrophy and strength, now I can start to see consistent progress and be able to track things a little bit better and actually expect to make some progress a little bit more frequently. From my example, and the reason why I wanted to give this example is because I had ridiculous strength progress, ridiculous, like almost, you could say like steroid-like or beginner gains type of progress. So I essentially went from, let's just say 230 pounds and have climbed up to 250 pounds in the course of about maybe 2-3 months. I think it's been closer to like 2 months, but that's pretty good progress. A total of 25 pounds added to the bar, and I truly think that I'm ready to go to the next weight up. So I'm hitting 250. I noticed that I hit 250 a time ago, and I hit 250 again, and I'm like, damn, that really shows that I could truly hit that PR, and that is my new PR. Whereas sometimes you might just have a lot of energy. It might just be a primary day, a premium day of just full of energy, full of nutrients, full of just strength and just hormones that you need to lift. Have the right music on, be super pumped up, and you hit a PR that way. And the way I do my PRs, I actually do them very, very strategically. So it's very kind of mathematical the way I do my PRs. So that way I know the only variables of my PRs are going to be like essentially my energy for the day. Or maybe if I had another workout session that would happen to be too close to this workout session. But generally, whenever I warm up, the whole entire warm-up phase, the working up to my PR phase, it's all the same workout regimen. It's all the same sets, and the way I pyramid up to my 1 rep max, it's always pretty much identical. So that's kind of a variable that does not change for me. I hit my PR of 250 the week before, and then I hit a PR of 250 again the following week. And when I hit that last PR, I actually noticed that it was fairly easy for me to hit that PR. And the reason why I know if a PR is kind of easy for me to hit is the way I can lift mechanically, I can do something really weird that I think a lot of people really cannot do, and I'll kind of just demonstrate it real quick. So when you're looking at me from the side like this, essentially what can happen with me whenever I go down with the bench, I have a sticking point about midway. I don't really stick down here at the bottom where a lot of people may get stuck at, and this is like with pretty much no bounce off the chest. This is just come down, touch the chest, back up. And my sticking point's like right about where my elbows go 90 degrees, roughly, maybe a hair bit lower, right before they lock out to 90. And there's a sticking point that I'll get to where I lift and I stick there. And I can literally hold for seconds, where it's like 1, 2. Like people just do not think whatsoever that I'm going to be able to accomplish the lift, and all of a sudden I just bust through it and I finish the last range of that motion, and essentially able to complete that rep. So I noticed whenever I hit this 250 PR last time, like the sticking was hardly none. Like I did have a little bit of slowdown through that range of motion, but I did not have any sticking whatsoever. It was just this nice, slow, steady grind through that portion that's a little bit harder for me. That kind of signifies to me that it's time to go up with my weight. Let's kind of put this example with maybe somebody else. Let's go with an example of somebody who has been consistently lifting strength style workouts and kind of what they're expected to lift. You know, I would generally say that don't worry about trying to hit a new PR every session. Like, just don't worry about doing that. Now, if you want to hit your last PR every session, I'm really not too against that. I wouldn't try to hit a bunch of sets of your 1 rep PR, but if you want to like pyramid up to your 1 rep PR and then come back, I'm okay with that personally. And the reason why is I have a very strong belief in you have muscle fibers that are meant to take thousands of pounds of weight. And essentially, whenever you're going down with the weight and you stop to go back up, there's a split instance where you're actually holding thousands of pounds of weight. Whenever you're reversing the direction of that motion, or when you're going to slow it down, there's actually thousands of pounds because of inertia or force, however you want to call it. But it's essentially the same kind of concept. Because of that, you know, theory and concept, essentially you're able to target those muscle fibers that are able to lift the thousands of pounds just due to the fact of that inertia change in the direction of motion. So I'm a high believer in those need to be targeted on strength workouts. That's why I do a hybrid style lift, is because I want to have days where I'm hitting my muscle fibers at the highest range of weight, where I'm essentially doing a 3 to 1 rep sets. Like if I'm doing a 1 rep sets though, it's not, if I'm doing singles, like just single, or doing triples or doubles or something like that, that's what I try to stick with my strength workouts. I'll do about 5 reps for my warm-ups. And the reason why I do that is because a lot of times I just want to keep as heavy weight on as possible. Now a lot of times I'm bench pressing by myself, so what do I do to stay safe with that? What I'm doing a lot of times is essentially I'll take like my 250 PR and I'll drop it down all the way to like 225 and just single that out, or maybe 225. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, at 225 right now, I'm able to do triples of it. And literally about a month ago, I couldn't do triples of it. I would only do doubles. So I would do doubles of, I could do triples for like 1 set of 225, but then I could only do that for like 1, maybe 2 sets. So then I would just drop down to doubles after I did that 1 set, just for safety purposes and because I'm down here lifting on my own. Then I've noticed over the course of doing that for a few more weeks, I'm actually able to hit triples pretty consistently, just triple, and stick at 225 for triples. Or if I feel like that day, I might go up to 230, 235 and go for singles. I don't want to get too close to my PR because like I want to be able to detect if I'm going to have a failure before I actually have the failure. And the further away you are from your PR, the more you're able to have like a mind-muscle connection and have the ability to detect your muscle fatigue before muscle failure. And when you're working out by yourself, especially with bench press, you do not want to go to muscle failure before you can go to a muscle fatigue and realize that you probably shouldn't do this next set. So another one of the topics is, the more weight you lift, does it take longer to go up in weight? And this is a yes and no answer. There's a few different components to that. I'm gonna just go ahead and knock out the most simple and easiest one. If you're advanced, obviously you're gonna get into what your genetic potential is, and you're not gonna really be able to make significant PRs. Like, you'd be good to hit at your genetic potential to hit an extra 5 pounds over the course of a year, or you hit an extra 5 pounds over a couple years, or 10 pounds over a couple years, like depending on who you are, how far along you are in your journey. But if you're like maxed out, you're maxed out and you can't grow anymore. So therefore it may take a super significant long time to be able to actually gain muscle. The other component to this is, other than frequency and all the other variation and all the other components of fitness, simply just lifting more weight is not going to necessarily make you slow down your strength progress. And actually lifting more weight will be able to actually increase your strength progress. That's why whenever you're doing strength workouts, you're lifting the most weight you potentially can, generally 5 reps or lower. The caveat to that is it's more so about how long have you been doing strength training. How long have you been doing strength training consistently? And so that's part of the reason why I do hybrid style lifting, so that way I have a significant amount of rest time for those muscles that are in that muscle fiber range. For like the strength muscle fibers, they have the ability to rest for an entire week before I hit them again. Same thing with my hypertrophy. I hit my hypertrophy session. Those muscles have a whole entire week before I hit them again. But I'm hitting those same muscles twice a week. And some isolation stuff within there, but like for my primary compound movements, I'm making sure I hit them at least twice a week. I'm hitting variations of each one. That way I have a nice, super long rest period. Now, I may lose out on a little bit of gains because I'm not hitting as frequent as I should, but I also will probably never hit plateaus due to the fact that I'm giving myself so much rest. I think a lot of times why people are hitting plateaus is because they're not giving themselves enough time to just lift weight and enjoy the process and not try to always go for a PR. I think trying to go for a PR every session can actually hinder you hitting a new PR. If you've been hitting, strength workouts twice a week and just keep hitting them over and over and over again, and you're, 3 years into doing strength workouts, it's going to take a lot longer for you to see strength progress. That's going to kind of go back in more of the thing of, it might be a month before you see a 5-pound increase. It might be 2 months before you see a 5-month increase. And, it all depends on your genetics, how truly far along you are on your fitness journey, how frequent you're going, how intense you're going, all the other variables of fitness. If you're just brand new into strength training, and it doesn't matter if you've been working out for a long time. Like if you've been working out and you've been doing something else like I've been doing with the hypertrophy, whenever you switch over to something like strength training that's a completely different style of training, you can see significant growth. And actually going the route that I did, I will see more growth than any newbie, anybody, because I've gained this hypertrophy muscle, so the muscle fibers are there, but now they haven't been trained to lift heavy weights, and my nervous system hasn't been trained to lift heavy weight. Therefore, I will see significant progress because I have all this muscle fiber that's not been adapted to use towards strength. Whereas, even though like hypertrophy is gonna activate some different muscle fibers than strength will, you're still gonna get the strength muscle fibers to grow alongside of the hypertrophy. And it's kind of like whenever you work out to failure. Like when you work out to failure, if you fail, your strength muscles try to kick in and help. They try to. And you're gonna get some strength fiber muscle breakdown during that period of time. Some, on the lower end. I think that there's a broad range of those muscle groups, and if you don't hit a certain range, then you're going to be missing out on some gains, and you're going to be missing out on some of those muscle fiber type gains. Like, to be honest, like I truly think one of the best strength sessions you can do is like a cheat strength session. Scott Herman does something like this where it's a cheat and recover session. the thing, I really like his whole concept of how he's able to go about it, because he can do a lot of the workouts by himself and everything. But like, I think the most optimal, just talking about optimal way to go about it, would be if you had something like a bench press, and essentially you had like some type of hooks that hung onto the bar, and you was able to just load on like 1,000 pounds onto there, and had some type of like machine that gave you some type of numerical feedback where you could just let that weight, you just carry as much of that weight as you potentially could. If you could go negative at 722 pounds, then that's exactly what that machine would give you. And as soon as you touch down on chest, it would lift it back up for you. Or you could push your hardest, and then that machine could detect how much force you're applying to it, and it would compensate and give the rest of the force to it. But I think that would be the most optimal for hitting the muscle fibers that are good for strength, hitting that end of the spectrum. And I think the same thing with hypertrophy. I think a lot of things that people neglect is like, I think a lot of people on hypertrophy, they neglect the super high-end repetition stuff where they're hitting 20, 30, 50 reps of something. I think that that does have a place. Now, it's not something I think that needs to be involved in every single session. I think it's one of those things that maybe you hit it once a month, twice a month, something like that, maybe every 2 weeks. That's probably a good rule of thumb for that, because you don't want to really use up too many of your hypertrophy sessions for something like that. And I would take those sets, like almost every single set, straight to failure. Like every set, like you just bang it out as many reps as you can until you can't do any more reps, and then just do like 3 sets of it. And you can find ways to implement that, kind of how I was implementing the strength into my hypertrophy days back whenever I was doing that. And if that works well, that it works okay, and it's a good way to implement some of those type of things. If anything in this video is not really clear to you, or you have things that you want to try to help clarify, put it down in the comments below. Ask the questions, I'll answer them. There's a lot of topics that go into fitness and variables that go into fitness that it's kind of hard to nail down things exactly, specifically. But this video, I just really wanted to try to target down on how much progress can you make, and really the thing is there's so many variables, it's impossible to say. But I just want to project at different times of your lifting life, you're going to be able to lift and make progress way quicker than others, depending on certain variables that, like I mentioned in this video. One other thing that I kind of wanted to mention was, what type of workouts should you be doing whenever you're trying to shoot for strength? What type of workouts should you be hitting for PRs? Basically, I would say only really stick with compound movements for PRs. I really wouldn't try to go with anything else. So that'd be stuff like squats, maybe like your deadlift stuff. So squats, deadlifts, bench press, pull-ups, seated rows, some movements like that. Maybe leg press, anything that's just a compound movements where you're using multiple joints within the workout. Now, the reason why you don't want to do stuff like isolation movements and try to hit PRs on them, you can, but one, it can be easy to injure yourself. Let's just give an example of tricep pushdown. So a tricep pushdown is where essentially you're holding weight here and you're pushing the weight down like this. And it's working out the back of your arm right here, the tricep. Well, an issue that a lot of people will do is, as they come back up with the weight, instead of leaving their elbows in the exact same position, you see how my elbows really aren't moving hardly any? What will happen is their elbows will pop up like this. So it'll be more like this motion here. And anytime you're bringing your elbows down like this, that's going to work out your lats. So you're going to actually start working out a different muscle, and it could be okay. I mean, like if you're just wanting to have like a dynamic strength, I don't want to be one of those guys that you have to have perfect form, but you also can't be throwing around the weight. You have to know what you're doing, and you have to know that if your arms are coming up some, that you're probably going to get some lat activation. You may get a little bit of tricep activation along with it, but you could use that as a slight compound movement, slightly, and I wouldn't promote it at all, but I am also a very big fan of dynamic lifting and kind of against form and how it's kind of boxed in and closed-minded a lot of people out there. So let's get into the next topic and our final topic, abs. Working out the abs. I kind of cover this a little bit with isolated movements, but I just wanted to bring out abs because I had somebody ask me about abs, and how does that fall in there? Are they an isolated movement? Are they a compound movement? They really are kind of a little bit of both. Even though they're kind of isolated where you're essentially just working out one particular muscle, it's such a large muscle spread across so much surface area of your body that it could kind of be considered a compound movement. And it's still one of those exercises I would not necessarily go for a PR, but I definitely do like to hit some strength on my abs. I do definitely like to hit go for triples or go for doubles, or maybe go for a single sometime, but I wouldn't really go for a PR. Like, I wouldn't make this like this is the most weight I could potentially do and I'm only going to do one rep of it. No, I would drop it down 10, 20% of what like the most I could potentially do is. and then hit that for single, and get some sets and get some volume in of some singles. Hopefully this video clarified some things with you, and you feel like you can make some better fitness decisions, and you feel like you know how many gains you can make this season in your lifting career, lifting life, lifting journey, and you hit that subbular button to get some more information on fitness and our lifestyle, what we do, and yeah, and just, you know, like, yeah. This is the thing you should do. You should just subscribe just because, and like hit that notification bell and whatnot. Yeah. That way you get notifications. Makes sense, right? So, hit the comments if you got any questions. I got a bunch of eating challenge videos coming up. Working with a videographer now. Super excited about that. So hopefully this content gets way better. We're just gonna kind of like just work together, try to build a team. Just looking for team members at the moment. So if you're anywhere in the Evansville, Indiana area, we are looking for team members to really try to build this thing up. I mean, everything from videographers, whatever you think you can help with, just give us a holler. We're just really trying to build that team that we can say, hey, we made it. Like, we made it. Like, whenever this thing is popped off and we've made it, we can have just like this awesome crew of people that is just like super business oriented, super entrepreneurial, and we can just go on our grind and we can all be successful AF.